A few days before the wedding, Lucas said he wanted to accompany his ailing first love to fulfill her last wish of traveling around the world. He asked me to wait for a month. At that moment, my mother was suddenly diagnosed with heart failure. Her greatest wish was to see me wear the wedding dress she made with her own hands and walk into the hall of marriage. I begged Lucas. I hoped to complete the wedding before leaving. He agreed to the wedding, but halfway through the ceremony, he and Sophia suddenly left. Their elopement photo was taken while they were passionately kissing at the airport. It quickly went viral. After seeing those photos, his mother was overwhelmed with emotion and unfortunately passed away. Meanwhile, they planned to fly to Paris to start a new life. Sophia posted a new update on social media. I did the bravest thing with my favorite person. Together, I hope everyone can bless us. I numbly held my mother's ashes. My fingers trembled as I typed a comment. I wish you 100 years of harmony. Evelyn, what are you beating around the bush about over there? The wedding is only postponed by 7 days. It's not canceled. Sophia is not in good health. Can't you show her a little more concern? She silently shed tears. She made an effort to clear her throat. She struggled to say a word. The wedding doesn't need to be postponed anymore. I'm going to cancel the engagement. Lucas said angrily. Evelyn, stop saying things out of anger. You're not a child anymore. Just because I didn't attend the wedding today, you want to cancel the engagement. I simply replied, in a calm tone, yes. Lucas sneered slightly. Evelyn, I'm not just out for fun. Sophia doesn't have much time left. She hopes I can accompany her to Paris. Why do you have to keep holding on to this matter? Getting angry over something trivial. You're already so grown up. Can you be a bit more mature? Does my mom know you are like this? I don't have the strength to argue with him. I can only question him hoarsely. Lucas, today is our wedding day. You promised you would definitely come. My mom is not in good health. She is still holding on. Lucas suddenly got angry. He directly interrupted me. Evelyn, how can you still bring up my mom? Is this how much you want to marry me? You went so far as to marry me. You even forged my mom's terminal illness report. And now you still have the nerve to mention her. Sophia has already told me. What else do you have to explain? Hearing Lucas's firm tone, my tears immediately welled up. Mom, I can't believe I harmed you because of a man. I truly deserve to die 1,000 deaths. Lucas, who are you on the phone with? The voice on the other end of the line was muffled. Lucas warned me with his eyes once again. Evelyn, let me tell you, don't threaten me with your little temper. You can marry or not marry as you wish. About my mom's side, I will explain it personally. I hung up the phone. My tears flowed uncontrollably. In the following days, Lucas never called again. Meanwhile, Sophia's social circle kept updating. They went to Hokkaido together to see the cherry blossoms. They also watched the blue tears together. They went to Iceland to see the aurora. I mechanically handled everything related to my mom. I nodded calmly. It hurt in my heart, but later it stopped hurting. After a few days, he sent a few messages to my mom's phone. My mom, I picked out a pearl necklace for you in Beihai. I hope you will like it. Last time, I didn't handle the wedding with Evelyn properly. I apologize to you. I'm back today. I hope to eat the sweet and sour ribs you made yourself. I stared at the messages on the screen. Unknowingly, tears streamed down. The tears blurred my vision. The screen was covered in wet tear stains. The door softly creaked. Lucas walked in. He was holding a bouquet of flowers and a cake. He asked, "Where is my mom?" I messaged her. She didn't reply. Evelyn, why are you sitting on the floor? The floor is cold. You are already prone to stomach aches during your period. You need to be more careful. Tears dripped onto the back of his hand. He asked in a bit of a panic, "Why are you crying?" I didn't think through the wedding matters. It's my fault. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. You shouldn't have kept my mom's situation from me. Let's just call it even. Lucas, I feel like something's off. Where's my mom? She should have gotten off work by now. I prepared a gift for her. I wanted to surprise her. I said coldly, "No need. She doesn't need your surprise anymore." He quickly asked, "Can I apologize to my mom on that day instead? She treats me so well. She definitely won't blame me." That's right. Mom is especially good to Lucas, just like she treats her own son. Lucas is my mom's student. His mother passed away after giving birth to him. He has been going to school in worn-out clothes since he was little. My mom used her own salary to buy him new clothes, helping him build confidence. After Lucas started working, Mom still worries about him eating takeout. I specially cooked for him. Sometimes I feel a bit jealous. It feels like Mom treats Lucas better than her own daughter. I took a deep breath. I tried to calm myself down. The apology gift you gave, she won't be able to receive it anymore. You understand? Lucas frowned. He asked in confusion, Evelyn, why are you suddenly throwing a tantrum? You said to cancel the wedding, so we canceled. I didn't care either, but I still want to marry you. I have already apologized. What else do you want me to do? I said while crying. Lucas, I hope you can bring my mom back to me. He looked at me helplessly. You are being unreasonable. I really have nothing more to say to you. Wait for my mom to come back. I'll call her to judge, I said with a cold laugh. She won't be coming back. Lucas looked at me with confusion. What do you mean by that? Did my mom go there to have fun, Evelyn? Your mom went on a trip. As her daughter, you should at least give her a call to check in. After saying that, he immediately took out his phone and dialed. Suddenly, a special notification alert rang out. The surroundings instantly fell silent. A weak voice came from the other end of the phone. Lucas, are you there? I'm here. I'm home alone. I've run out of medicine. Can you take me to the hospital? Lucas immediately agreed. Then he turned and left. It was originally agreed that my mom would call, but I had completely forgotten about it. After Lucas left, I started packing my bags alone. I was getting ready to leave. Lucas called to ask, Evelyn, I want to buy some sanitary pads for a girl. What brand do you think is better to buy? Sophia joked from the side. You can't do that. This is cheating. You shouldn't do that. Evelyn, you mustn't tell him. Big sister Evelyn, Lucas is your fiancé. You don't even know that. I need to teach him a lesson. Don't worry. I will definitely return you a good husband. Her tone was obviously provocative, with a rising intonation. I listened quietly. The sounds of their flirting kept coming. A sudden sharp pain shot through my heart. If it were back then, I would definitely have a big fight with Lucas out of possessiveness, but this time, I just lightly responded, and then hung up the phone directly. After a while, the phone didn't ring again. Suddenly, the ringtone rang again. I picked up the phone casually. I heard a woman speaking in an unclear voice. Lucas, do you love me? I do. You love me. Then why marry Evelyn? Lucas said gently. Wasn't it you who suggested we try getting married first if it feels good? Then we can officially be together. You said that yourself. Have you forgotten? I always thought I was that special person, but I'm not even a substitute. Just a test subject for the wedding. The man I loved for 10 years actually said I was just a test subject. How ironic. Upon hearing this, I couldn't listen any longer. My tears blurred my vision. I hung up the phone without hesitation. I couldn't stop throwing up until there was nothing left in my stomach. Then I slowly lay back down on the bed. Tears slid from the corners of my eyes, soaking the pillow. Lucas didn't come back all night. I decided to sell my mom's house at the real estate agency. I ran into Lucas and Sophia. As soon as the agent saw me, he greeted me warmly. Miss Evelyn, you're here. I've been waiting for you to sell that house. Lucas asked in confusion. What house? I hadn't had the chance to stop him. The agent just blurted out my mom's house address. Evelyn, how can you sell the house without my mom's consent? That house is her lifelong savings. True, Lucas wanted to say. It's also our memories. The agent was left confused. He asked, so are you selling or not? I said firmly, yes, this house has nothing to do with him. Sophia quickly said, Lucas, Evelyn must have her reasons for selling the house. Lucas smirked slightly. What legitimate reason could she have? It must be the wedding incident that upset her. I'll call my mom right now. Let's see what she says about you. Lucas made the call, but no one answered. He frowned, thinking to himself, how strange. Why can't I get through to my mom's phone? Only I understand. The phone couldn't get through anymore. Sophia comforted him beside him. Maybe my mom is busy. You said you were specifically going to look at houses today. If this continues, I'm going to be unhappy. Lucas turned and said, I'll go handle some matters first. I'll take you home later. We can discuss the wedding properly then. I think it's necessary to clarify things. Let's talk about it after the paperwork is done. Lucas had already decided to leave. I naively thought he would wait for me. I remembered. He had also taken me to see houses. We had planned a beautiful future together. After returning home, I threw everything I had prepared in advance into the fire pit, including the wedding dress my mother had prepared for me. All were consumed by the flames. Suddenly, I heard a loud shout from behind me. Evelyn, what are you doing? Lucas saw the flames roaring in the fire pit. He looked a bit uneasy. The wedding is tomorrow. Why did you burn the wedding dress? He anxiously reached out to grab the wedding dress from the fire pit, but he quickly pulled back his hand due to the intense heat. In the end, He could only helplessly watch as the wedding dress turned into a pile of blackened material. He sighed deeply. A surge of inexplicable anger suddenly arose in his heart. As if to calm himself down, he spoke up. "Don't worry, there's still time. I'll arrange for someone to make you a new one tonight." I had a slight cold smile on my lips. "No need." Lucas suddenly pulled me into his arms. He held my waist tightly with both hands. He was like a cat that had played outside long enough. As soon as he came back, he was especially affectionate towards me. "Evelyn, you're still so stubborn. I really can't do anything about you." That familiar warmth suddenly enveloped me. I felt a lump in my throat. My tears were welling up in my eyes. The tears hadn't had a chance to fall yet. Lucas let go of me. He turned around to answer the phone. His expression suddenly became gentle. There was a hint of fondness on his face. He said, "Evelyn, there's something at the company. I have to go back for a bit." He turned and left without hesitation. I asked in a hoarse voice, "Are you really going to the company, Lucas? You're lying," he said calmly. "Yes." The phone rang. A message popped up. "Evelyn, see you at the auction later." A jade bracelet was displayed at the auction. It was the most beloved item of my mother during her lifetime. Before leaving, I planned to bid for it. As a keepsake, Lucas gently asked Sophia, "Sophia, today is your birthday. What gift do you want?" Sophia lightly bit her lip. Her gaze lingered on that bracelet. "Lucas, can I have that bracelet? It's so beautiful." Lucas gently stroked her head, smiling as he said, "Don't worry, I will definitely help you get it." The auction has begun. Sophia turned her head to look at me. Her eyes were filled with confidence in victory. Miss Evelyn bid 1 million. Lucas cast a faint glance at me. He raised the paddle in his hand. "Mr. Lucas, 2 million. I gritted my teeth. My fingers unconsciously dug into my flesh. "Lucas, do you really want to argue with me?" I softened my tone. "Speaking of which, that's the only bracelet my mom left behind. Can you let me have it?" Lucas frowned and said, "My mom is still here. Don't say random things. Sophia rarely has something she likes. Don't make her unhappy." Sophia gently tugged at Lucas's shirt hem. Her eyes glistened with tears. "Let's forget it. I don't want it anymore." "Lucas, bro, don't argue with Sister Evelyn for my sake. It's really not worth it." Lucas gently comforted her. His eyes were filled with deep affection. "You deserve the best in the world." I watched as Sophia got the bracelet. I was anxious inside but couldn't stop it. She loosened her grip. The bracelet fell to the ground. It made a crisp sound. Sophia wore a provocative smile at the corner of her mouth, then pretended to cry. Apologetically said, "I'm sorry, Aunt Evelyn. I slipped. Go ahead, hit me." Woo woo woo. I was momentarily stunned. I squatted down foolishly. I reached out to pick up the broken bracelet pieces. I accidentally cut my finger. Blood immediately flowed out. Lucas held Sophia, gently comforted her. "Don't blame yourself, Sophia." I gave a bitter smile. "I don't blame her. Should I blame myself then?" Lucas took a deep breath and then said, "Evelyn, I didn't mean it that way. Sophia didn't do it on purpose. I will find someone to fix the bracelet, and I will explain it clearly to my mom." Lucas made a phone call. The atmosphere eased a bit. Sophia cried while helping me pick up things. As soon as he left, she immediately changed her expression. The voice was cold and piercing. "Evelyn, watching your mother's belongings shatter before you. How does it feel? I pretended to be sick to ruin your wedding. Lucas's favorite person is me. You're the one who intruded between us. You're just a ridiculous person. Someone who brought misfortune to her own mother. If I were you, I'd be too ashamed to continue living. How can you live with a clear conscience?" I lost control of my anger for a moment. I raised my hand and slapped Sophia. She fell heavily to the ground. Her face was cut by the shards on the ground. Blood flowed down her cheek. Sophia cried softly. My face. Lucas suddenly pushed me away. Evelyn slapped me hard across the face. My face instantly felt a burning pain. The corner of my mouth was also split open. She said coldly, "You truly make me feel disgusted. Sophia just accidentally broke the bracelet, but you hurt her face." I was shaking with anger. My voice was trembling. "Lucas, Sophia is actually not sick. She's pretending. Evelyn, stop lying." Sophia's face suddenly turned pale. "Lucas, it hurts so much," she continued speaking. "Don't blame Sister Evelyn. It's all my fault." Lucas immediately picked up Sophia and left. He didn't even look at me. "For my mother's sake, the wedding will proceed as planned tomorrow. Evelyn, don't think I will come to pick you up. You're not worth it." He took Sophia away. That night, the entire hospital staff worked until dawn for Sophia. I smiled helplessly. I put away the bracelet that was shattered beyond recognition. Evening, I looked at the wedding dress that was delivered. I sat silently until dawn. When I boarded the plane holding my mother's ashes, the wedding venue was already a mess. Lucas started the live stream, but the auspicious time had already passed. I still didn't show up. He was getting impatient. The phone kept ringing. It was all calls from Lucas. I hung up on each one. My mother's phone ran out of battery and shut down from Lucas's calls. Before it shut down and blocked him, Lucas sent a message. "Evelyn, you're quite bold now. You actually didn't answer my calls. Hurry up and come to the wedding." I smiled lightly. I deleted the message. I broke the SIM card. I blacklisted all contacts. Then I turned and left. The butler hurried to the wedding venue. He nervously said to Lucas, "Something has happened. Miss Evelyn just posted a message on Weibo. She said my mother passed away. Miss Evelyn took her mother's ashes to the airport. She also revealed Miss Sophia was actually not sick after the plane landed. It was already late at night. I had just gotten off the plane and saw my friend Charlie waiting for me. Long time no see." His gaze had become sharper. He helped me carry my other luggage. I was still holding my mother's ashes after getting in the car. After a while, he asked me, "Are you cold?" I shook my head and said, "No, I'm not cold. Charlie and I grew up together. We are childhood sweethearts. Due to family reasons, he went abroad when he was in middle school. We have kept in touch all these years. Coincidentally, he returned to the country recently. After I told him what happened, he asked me to go find her. That evening, we returned to Charlie's guest house. After a quick wash-up, we rested separately. The next morning, we went to the cemetery to settle my mother. During this time, my tears kept flowing. Charlie silently accompanied me. He didn't say a word. He excused himself to smoke. He stood up. I sat cross-legged on the ground. I placed my mother's favorite flowers in front of the tombstone. I slowly began to talk to my mother. I couldn't stop talking. "Mom, don't worry. I have broken up with Lucas. I left him. We will no longer have any contact. I specifically chose this place for you. You will definitely like it. This place faces the sea. In spring, flowers bloom." Before I knew it, it was dark. Charlie and I went home together. After getting home, Charlie slowly told me about Lucas and Sophia. He said, "Lucas was here after I left. He once came to the airport to look for me. Not only that, Lucas also found out that Sophia deceived him with a fake terminal illness. Now they have broken up. Lucas was looking for me. He searched almost all of New York." I smiled faintly. "Let him be, I don't care." After I left Lucas, I became a small boss at Charlie's guest house. Life was quite leisurely until Lucas came knocking at my door. Charlie happened to be away. Lucas appeared at the door dressed in all black. As soon as he saw me, his face showed an excited expression. He quickly called out to me, "Evelyn, Evelyn, I finally found you." I turned to leave with a blank expression. Lucas grabbed my arm. "Evelyn, do you not even want to talk to me now?" I forcefully shook off his hand. I said coldly, "No, not at all. Why should I talk to someone who caused my mother's death?" He was taken aback for a moment. He said with some regret, "I'm sorry. I really didn't expect it to turn out like this. If I had known my mom was unwell, I definitely wouldn't have agreed to elope with Sophia. Evelyn did this to fulfill her last wish, but I didn't expect she was actually deceiving me." I let out a cold laugh. "Lucas, what's the point of saying this now? It only makes people more disgusted. It's completely useless. I don't want to see you, and I don't want to hear you talk. If you know what's good for you, just leave quickly," Lucas said hoarsely. "About my mom. I thought you were lying to me. That's why A surge of unnamed anger suddenly welled up in me. I couldn't help but shout loudly, "Am I deceiving you? Do I have nothing better to do than to deceive you? 1 month before the wedding, you said you wanted to travel the world with Sophia. Did I not agree to that? I know someone wants to fulfill their wishes before leaving, but my mom is also sick. I just want you to promise to marry me first. That way, my mom can leave in peace." Did you hear that? Lucas lowered his head and said, "My mom has always been in good health, so Then he said again, "Evelyn, it's all my fault. You can hit me or scold me. Just don't abandon me." "Lucas, have you forgotten we are already engaged no more?" Lucas shook his head and said, "I won't agree." I laughed out of anger. "I don't care whether you agree or not. You really think too highly of yourself. Lucas, in order to fulfill Sophia's wishes, have you ever considered my feelings and my mom's attitude towards you? You know it in your heart. She treats you better than her own daughter. She always thinks of you first. You superficially agreed to marry me, behind the scenes, planning how to escape the marriage. Lucas, you really make me uncomfortable." Lucas's eyes turned red. His face showed a sad expression. I scoffed. Speak. You don't deserve it. My mom doesn't want to see you. Don't let her path to reincarnation be affected. Please leave. Lucas was about to speak again. Charlie suddenly appeared and interrupted him. Mr. Lucas, didn't you realize that she doesn't want to talk to you? You're still here pestering her. Is it interesting? Charlie looked at him coldly. His tone was sarcastic. Lucas immediately asked alertly, "Who are you?" The other party replied, "I'm talking to my fiancé." "What does it have to do with you?" Charlie sneered. "Speak. Evelyn is no longer your fiancé. How can you say such a thing?" Lucas stood still. His expression was very grim. At the moment of their tense confrontation, Lucas suddenly grabbed Charlie's tie. "You think you're so impressive. What right do you have to interfere in our matters?" Charlie smiled coldly. You two have long since had no connection. Mr. Lucas, you'd better leave on your own. Otherwise, when the police arrive, it will be quite unpleasant." Lucas remained standing still. Charlie took me away. Lucas suddenly called out to me, "Evelyn, I don't want to give up yet. Can you give me another chance?" I stopped, but I didn't turn around. "It's impossible now. From now on, we will be strangers." Lucas was pushed to the store entrance by Charlie, but he still refused to leave. The thunder rumbled in the sky. Heavy rain poured down. Lucas suddenly knelt down in the rain at night. I'm watching from a distance. My heart is as calm as a still pond. Charlie is organizing the table. Suddenly, a sentence came out. "Don't pay attention to him. You should get some rest early." I replied with an acknowledgement. I turned and went upstairs. Early the next morning, when I went downstairs, I saw Lucas still kneeling in place. His complexion is very poor. His lips are pale. He is completely soaked by the heavy rain. "Evelyn, you're here," I said somewhat impatiently. "Lucas, do you find this interesting? You're kneeling here now. Who are you performing for? Tell me. Or do you want the whole world to know how deeply affectionate you are? Do you think this is interesting? I'm asking you. Do you think this is interesting?" Lucas has obvious dark circles under his eyes. He smiled slightly and said, "Don't get me wrong. I truly hope you can forgive me. Can you give me another chance? I understand I've made a lot of mistakes, but I can't help but hope for a chance to start over." I bent down to look at him. There was a clear hint of jest in my eyes. "As long as you can accomplish one thing, I will forgive you." Lucas's eyes suddenly lit up. He said eagerly, "Evelyn, you can say it. As long as I can do it, I will definitely do it." I let out a cold laugh. "I want you to die. Can you do that?" Lucas's face suddenly turned pale. He struggled to open his mouth. I already knew he couldn't do it. "If you can't do it, then forget it. I'm not forcing you. I will never forgive you in this lifetime." Lucas struggled to stand up. He asked, "Evelyn, do you really wish for my death?" I smiled slightly. I replied, "Yes, I sincerely hope so." Lucas lowered his head. The sadness in his eyes was undeniable. I understand now. After confirming that Lucas had left, I went to find my mother alone. I just wanted to talk to my mother about recent events. Lucas suddenly appeared behind me. I frowned. My tone was not good. "What are you doing here? Hurry up and leave. My mom doesn't want to see you." Lucas stood there foolishly. His eyes suddenly turned red. Teardrops flowed uncontrollably. His lips trembled. It took him a long time to squeeze out a sentence. I'm sorry." He suddenly knelt on the ground. He slapped himself hard. The sound was loud. He said, "I'm really not human. You've been so good to me all these years, but I have let you down." Lucas sobbed softly. I stood in front of him. He said coldly, "That's enough. My mom doesn't want to see you. Do you think crying here will help? Everyone has left. Who are you crying for? Can you not disturb my mom? Let her stay here quietly." Lucas wiped away his tears. "Speak. I just want to apologize to your aunt. I mean no harm." I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. Then I said, "You have already apologized. Please leave immediately." Lucas remained silent. He nodded and left. When I returned, he was already gone. But I ran into Sophia at the guest house entrance. She came over and took my hand. She asked, "Evelyn, have you seen Lucas? I haven't seen him for several days. I miss him a lot. Has he come looking for you?" I stared at her coldly. "She is the one responsible for my mother's death. Get away. I don't want to see you again." Sophia said, tears streaming down her face, "Evelyn, I know you don't like me." I interrupted her coldly. "Stop pretending. Don't you feel tired, Sophia? About my mom, I won't let you off easily. I will seek legal action." Sophia no longer pretended to be weak. She spoke directly. "Evelyn, I didn't mean to kill your mom. Who knew your mom was sick?" she said nonchalantly. "It's just bad luck on her part. It has nothing to do with me. Don't make wild accusations here. She then added smugly, even if you take me to court, I'm not afraid. Suddenly, a surge of anger arose within her. She raised her hand and slapped him. He asked in surprise, "You actually hit me." Sophia covered her face with her hands. Lucas quickly grabbed her wrist. He asked, "What are you doing here? Isn't it embarrassing enough for you? Didn't I tell you to stay home obediently? How did you get out?" Sophia stammered for a long time, before finally squeezing out a sentence. "I'm worried about you, so I came out to find you." Lucas showed a hint of impatience in his eyes. "All right, you've seen me, you can go back now." Sophia was still hesitating. I immediately shouted loudly, "Get away, all of you, get away from me. Seeing both of you makes me uncomfortable." Lucas seemed to want to say something more. I slapped him directly across the face. I coldly told him, "Lucas, I'll say it one last time, there is absolutely no possibility between us. I see you now. All I feel is disgust and aversion. I have no feelings for you anymore. I just hope you can stay away from me. Please do not disturb me anymore. Let's just consider each other as strangers." Lucas's eyes gradually dimmed. Only deep sadness remained. "I understand. Can I ask you one more question?" he said softly. I nodded. His tone was somewhat irritated. "Go ahead. Did you ever love me?" I closed my eyes. I sighed. I answered, "I once loved you, but I don't love you anymore." "Okay, I understand. I won't disturb you again. I wish you happiness." Lucas left. Sophia also left shortly after. I hadn't had the chance to find a lawyer to sue Sophia when she got into trouble. She suddenly had a mental breakdown and jumped from the 20th floor. After the police investigation, they found that this matter was related to Lucas. He admitted it without hesitation. Upon hearing this news, I felt completely indifferent. Charlie was busy running around in the first-floor restaurant. I was helping by serving dishes on the side. We believe things will definitely get better. From Lucas's perspective, just a few days before he was about to get engaged to Evelyn, Sophia suddenly returned from abroad. With tears in her eyes, she said to him, she missed him very much. She was seriously ill. She asked if I could pick her up. The day she returned happened to be the engagement day. I was just about to refuse when she quietly started to cry. I softened my heart. Evelyn is a very eloquent girl. I decided to pick up Sophia just once before her engagement. Unexpectedly, Sophia and I had an intimate encounter in the car. As a result, I missed the wedding. At that time, I still didn't know. Our intimate photos have already been taken by paparazzi. They were sent to my mother. I called Evelyn. I wanted to discuss postponing the wedding. I thought she would agree, but unexpectedly, she suggested calling off the engagement. I was taken aback. I felt that Evelyn might be just throwing a tantrum. I told her directly, even if we get married, I still have my own private life. This has nothing to do with her. Evelyn's voice sounded a bit hoarse, as if she had just been crying. She asked me whether it was a company matter or if I went to pick up Sophia. I didn't dare to tell the truth. I just hoped she would calm down. Sophia happened to be planning a trip abroad. I agreed to go with her. What I didn't expect was, Evelyn didn't even call me once, not even my mother, who always cares about me. This time, she didn't contact me either. Memories of the past floated in my mind. I feel a wave of guilt. I took the initiative to message my mom, but she still hasn't replied to me. I remember today is her birthday, thinking that she might be busy. That's why she hasn't responded. In the evening, I went to my mom's house with a cake and flowers. As soon as I walked in, Evelyn was sitting on the sofa, with tear stains on her face. The house was cold and empty. I looked around but didn't hear my mom's voice. Suddenly, I remembered she had mentioned going on a trip. I frowned. I asked Evelyn where my mom had gone. She just silently cried. I felt a tightness in my chest. I gently comforted her. I apologized to her. I admitted it was all my fault. Evelyn's expression remained calm. Her tone was cold enough to chill me. I felt a tightness in my chest. She, who is usually so gentle, today she seems like a completely different person. I also feel it's strange inside. I think it might be because she was upset after I ran away from the wedding. I didn't think much of it. I called my mom during the argument, but no one answered. I suddenly got angry. I couldn't help but blame Evelyn, just when I felt guilty. Sophia suddenly called. I immediately found an excuse to leave. I didn't even answer her call. After closing the door, I made a bet with Sophia. As a result, she directly called Evelyn after Sophia made a few jokes. She hung up the phone. She pulled me and wouldn't let me go. I hesitated a bit. I didn't really want to go back in the end. I still spent the night at Sophia's place. When I woke up, I was eagerly hoping to see a message from Evelyn, but there was nothing at all. This time, she astonishingly didn't send me any messages. She didn't even make a single phone call. I felt a deep sense of loss. It left me feeling uneasy. I tried to control the complex emotions within me. I thought about giving her a call at that moment. Sophia came over and hugged me. She whispered sweetly, "Lucas, you promised to accompany me to see the house today. Don't think about doing anything else, or meeting other women. You are mine." The other woman Sophia mentioned is actually Evelyn. In the afternoon, I took Sophia to the real estate agency. We just happened to run into Evelyn. She looked like she'd aged quite a bit overnight. I was just about to ask her what happened. At that moment, the agent asked her if she was selling her house. I was taken aback. Later, I found out she was selling my mother's house. I felt even more anxious. Evelyn nodded gently. I couldn't help but ask, "You're going to sell my mother's house? Are you out of your mind?" Evelyn looked up when our eyes met. Her gaze was as cold as ice. I questioned her emotionally, but she remained calm. I immediately thought she was still angry about my runaway marriage. I softened my tone. I wanted to have a good talk with her, but she still insisted on selling the house. Seeing this situation, I didn't know what else to say. I planned to take Sophia home first, then have a good chat with Evelyn. Unexpectedly, Sophia suddenly had a stomachache. I quickly took her to the hospital. As a result, I forgot to explain things to Evelyn until I got home. I found her silently standing in front of the fire. I smelled a burnt odor. As I approached, I discovered that the exquisite quilt my mother had sewn for Evelyn was burned. She usually treats this ziyuhua as a treasure. She wouldn't even dare to touch it. I remember the day my mother finished embroidering it. She excitedly ran up to me, holding the ziyuhua. She was extremely happy. She happily told me she would definitely wear the ziyuhua to marry me. My body reacted faster than my mind. I reached into the fire pit despite the flames. My fingers got burned, but I didn't realize it. The flames were too fierce. I could only watch as the fire slowly consumed the ziyuhua. In the end, it turned to black ash. Evelyn, on the side, remained calm. It seemed like the burning thing had nothing to do with her. I forced a smile. There was still some time before the wedding. I said there was time. I would definitely be able to prepare another ziyuhua for her. Evelyn didn't say anything. I felt quite guilty towards her. I was just about to comfort her. Sophia called me away again. I promised her that I would come back. She gently responded. She agreed. But unfortunately, I still couldn't keep my promise. Sophia tried her best to make me stay. I agreed. At the auction, I ignored Evelyn's advice. I gave Sophia my mother's bracelet. I thought she was unwell, so I wanted to fulfill her wishes as much as possible. Evelyn pleaded with me softly, but I still didn't agree with her. Suddenly, Sophia's hand slipped. She accidentally broke the bracelet. I was startled. Evelyn was stunned. Sophia cried and said it was not intentional. I believed her. I was thinking about how to make it up to Evelyn, but she suddenly hit Sophia. I acted impulsively, and I also struck her. Evelyn has changed to the point where I feel unfamiliar with her. I told her, tomorrow I won't go to pick her up. Evelyn insists that Sophia is faking her illness, but I don't believe it. I feel that Evelyn is deliberately framing Sophia. Because Sophia's health has always been poor, she said her stomach hurts. I carried her away. I didn't care what Evelyn thought. The day before the wedding, I had someone deliver the wedding dress to Evelyn in advance. The phone remained silent until the wedding started. She still didn't come. I started to feel a bit anxious waiting, so I called her, but she didn't answer until all the guests began to get impatient. I called my mom again, but she didn't answer either. At this moment, I really panicked. I suddenly felt nervous inside. I realized that she might really not want to marry me. She called off the wedding 7 days ago. This is not a joke, and it's not out of anger. I've decided to find Evelyn. At this moment, the butler rushed in. He said anxiously, "Mr. Lucas, something has happened." Miss Evelyn took my mother's ashes and left. I was stunned for a moment. It felt like I was struck by lightning. My eyes widened in shock. "What did you just say?" "The ashes." The butler wiped his tears and said, "Miss Evelyn's mother passed away 7 days ago. Today is the 7th day since her passing. Miss Evelyn left early this morning. The wedding dress you had us deliver, it is still perfectly intact on the sofa." I pulled the butler tightly and asked urgently, "This is impossible. How could my mother suddenly leave even if my mother really wanted to leave?" Evelyn also knows about my relationship with my mother. She couldn't possibly not tell me. I shook my head. I couldn't believe it. It's impossible. Things can't be like this. The butler explained with a choked voice. My mother's health has always been poor, but she never told me to avoid worrying me. She kept it from me all along. On the day of the engagement, I ran away from the wedding. My mother fell ill with anger. In the end, she unfortunately passed away. I was filled with regret and guilt. These emotions surged like a flood. They pressed down on me, making it hard to breathe. My heart ached severely. I hurried to the airport. I wanted to see Evelyn one last time, but I still didn't get to see her in the end. I searched all over New York, but I couldn't find any trace of her. The last time I saw her was in the autumn. I was eager to talk to her, but she coldly rejected my approach. I had no choice but to apologize to her. She was unwilling to forgive me. I was momentarily at a loss until that moment. I finally realized it was all manipulated by Sophia behind the scenes. But regardless, it was indeed my fault that I caused the death of my mother, who was so good to me. I knelt down. I begged for Evelyn's forgiveness. As long as she was willing to forgive me, whatever she wanted me to do, I was willing to do it. She looked at me coldly. Her gaze was full of disgust. Emotionless, I expressed my desire to see my mother. She flatly refused. I just wanted to kneel before her grave, to confess to her. I quietly followed her. Arriving at my mother's tombstone, my heart ached as if it were being cut by a knife. In the years of my youth when I needed care the most, the angel who always protected me has left forever. It was I who destroyed her shelter with my own hands. It made her approach the end of her life more quickly. I am the one who truly made a mistake. I should bear the consequences. Evelyn firmly drove me away. She said I might affect my mother's reincarnation. I begged her desperately, but she wouldn't even look at me again. Before we left the island, I asked her one last question. Did you ever love me? I just hope we never intersect again in this lifetime. She said she once loved me, but I know that now she no longer loves me. After getting this answer, I left the island with a heavy heart. I returned home. The only thing I could do was make Sophia pay for what she did. After doing all this, I quietly awaited my judgment later. I received a message from Evelyn again. It's her wedding invitation with Charlie. I'm lying on the hospital bed. I truly hope she can be happy. Evelyn, may you live a worry-free life, year after year, no longer with me.